Hello! In today's unnecessarily long video, I will show you how I modeled this lightsaber. That is a lightsaber from the game Jedi Fallen Order, and that was in the hands of young Cal. So the first thing we do is we load the reference image into the Fusion 360. And the next thing I will do is I'll think how big it should be. So it will be more or less real size. For that, I just looked up some images from the game, saw how the young man hand was holding this saber, and I still made it too small, I think. Next step is to model actual profile of the main body. This image is not orthogonal view, and so I have to take into account the perspective of that either concept art or some render, but anyway, it's not orthogonal, so I have to take into account. And so I'll just go through the image and carefully, using information I have at hand, try and outline the profile, because then I will just revolve it, which will happen any minute now. Yeah, so now I revolve it and you have a body. Basically that's it. So you have the main body. I quickly applied some just very simple color like shape and metal, then I corrected a little bit. Now I'm just correcting this sticking out bit, making it a little bit more roundish, and now I'm starting to think about this leather bit, which I suspect is supposed to be this complicated part of this design. I'm using this spiral thingy, and initially I thought it will be this round spiral, but then I realized that it's probably not round, it's more like just a strip of leather, so it's square in cross section with the rounded edge. And the next thing was a bit of a failure, so I thought about making the main body of this leather strip, so like leather wrapping, and I made it as a cylinder, and I was thinking I'll just cut it from one end in some funky way and from another end, and then we'll be done with that, and maybe that was enough. Here I'm just trying to cut out this strip in the correct place, so it will kind of be in the same place where the main leather jacket, I guess, ends. So there's a lot of probably unnecessary cutting out action, because it's Fusion, it's not Blender, it's not easy just to move mesh around, so I have to put some sketches and cut out some things. Yeah, so that took me a while, and probably right about now I realized that the jacket of the leather jacket is probably not enough, because in the original design it has some kind of curvature if you look carefully. And so what I'm trying to do now here is to use this form. It's the T-spline body that you can shape, and I started first by trying to use a cylinder, which wasn't good because it's a spiral shape, and so cylinder just won't work, and I actually end up doing just like a strip, a surface strip that goes in spiral. So I just had a line, and then I spiraled it, followed the existing spiral of the strip. Now I'm just moving different edges up and down to make this wavy pattern, to make internal, so like check it not to be uniform flat, but like a bending inside a little bit. When that was done, I needed to actually make the solid body out of it, and that took me a while. I deleted a lot of footage, but basically in the end what I did, I cut it down like that into portions, so they won't be parts of the strip anymore, so small portions, and I made each of them solid, and then I joined them all together. I don't know, that was the only way I could do that. And yeah, what I'm trying to do here is just in some weird way just to close this weird cap. I don't care about the shape of the surface, I just need I need it to be solid, and I'm just going through each of those segments and I'm making them solid using all this surface tools. That's quite handy in this type of job, but it's very, very hacky. Anyway, and at this point you can see it's one big solid object, this jacket itself. I still cutting out bits and pieces of the strip so they will coincide and, you know, end where it should end. I tried to merge them, it didn't work. At this point I started just applying some very basic colors and materials to make it look just a little bit like in concept art. Now when all this done, I'm doing this extra details on the surface of the body. In this case I'm making the switch with lights. So I made a sketch and I'm offsetting it into the body, making a groove basically. I'm also trying to find the perfect angle so it will match the perspective of the image of the reference material. Now I'm just extruding here and there. Yeah, so now I'm just moving it a little bit to match it and to understand what was my correct angle. Now I'm starting to do the second angled surface and appropriate sketch for the button that is visible underneath the switch. So I'm just making this circle sketch and then extruding, now extruding again for the central part of the button that will be underneath the button itself, because I thought I saw this in the concept art. Now I'm making the cap of the button itself and I'm making it roundish. I think it's already roundish. Is it? No, I will make another plane and another sketch to make it round. I believe that's what I'm doing. I'm making the perpendicular plane so I can make this curve and then revolve it so I can make the rounded rounded side, and then a little bit of fillet, or yeah, a little bit of fillet just to make it perfect and pretty. And now I'm going to a second button, the bigger one. I thought it is perpendicular to the first one, and so that's what I went with. Later I will turn it around a little bit to match the concept art. Again, a bit of profile. Now I'm making the cutout because I thought I saw this grooves on the sides of the button, you know, to catch your fingers so that they're easier to turn the knob or the button. I made a hole for the button and I expanded a little bit so there's space for it to turn. Now I'm making the cutout inside the body, so there will be empty space, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm just deleting some material inside the body, because when I make holes later, yeah, like these holes. Now I made this body that I'm using as a tool, and I'm copying this body and I'm turning this body, moving this body, and cutting out material from the main body of the lightsaber with this tool body, because for some reason other ways of cutting like copying this those faces of the cut didn't work. I'm adding more detail in on the face that is not visible in concept art, so at this point I'm just improvising and making some random techie hard surface shapes to make it fancy looking. I'll be honest, I saw other takes on this design based on this concept art, and they do have some fancy, you know, different. I'm not copying anyone else's, you know, design for invisible faces that are not visible here. So I'm just making my own. There's this fancy slots with the radius in them, and then I'm making a little bit more slots. And in the end, I didn't record a little bit over there, but now you can see I just extruded those things, and I made a little bit of chamfer over there. Okay, the next step is for me to Oh yeah, I'm making this extra bit that's sticking out where the actual, you know, plasma is coming out, because I forgot about that as part of the main body. So I'm just making some shapes. Realizing at some point that I need to also cut out from this front face of the lightsaber that is not visible in the design. So again, I'm doing a little bit of just imagining what is going to be on this side that is not visible. So I'm just cutting out with the revolve, and yeah, some chamfer here and there, because, well, you know, that's machined material, it should be chamfered, you don't want hard edges. And now I'm adding more detail on this front face of the lightsaber, similar to this face that we did before. Again, a bit of same language with these slots and cutouts, and a bit of radial design, so that whole thing will be radially copied around 5 times, I believe. So a bit of fillet over there, chamfer there, and then I will copy all the faces. No, actually I'm copying the features. Yeah, so I'm just radially copied features. Now I'm cutting out a little bit from the side because, well, you know, I think it should have some ventilation holes. There's hot gases coming out or whatever. So that thing is going to be also radially copied. Yeah, in this case I'm copying faces around the center axis. A bit of chamfer here, chamfer there, and here we go. We are almost done. I decided to add some internal structure. I thought there should be something inside because, well, I don't see anything on the design, so I thought there will be some kind of, well, some kind of ticky thing that maybe hold crystal, maybe not, I don't know. So it will look like this 5-pointed star sticking out thingy. Yeah, you see I'm coming back and adding the chamfer before copying it all. There's some random faces appear. Anyway, so that thing is on one side, and then I'm copying it and turning it around and putting it on the other side of this inside chamber that you can see through the holes. And I believe I'm also turning it around so they are not exactly, yeah, like here I will turn it around so they're not exactly facing each other in exact way, so they a little bit turned out of phase. That will add it more. I just deleted the random face there. I'm adding a little bit of groove on the back side. Again, this is not part of the concept art, you can't see what's behind it. Yeah, I think that's all for modeling. I didn't do anything else except for oh yeah, I added some more materials as LEDs for those bits. I thought those are, you know, lamps. Just tweaking the a little bit materials to make them look like in design. Added this chamfer somehow, I forgot about that because I think that needs chamfer. Now I'm adding all the fillets, like very, very tiny fillets for all the sharp edges everywhere, because that will look nice in render. They will be more realistically rendered. Now here I'm just adding a little bit of hole around this switch, even though it's probably moving up and down, but I made it so it's like a button, you press it in. And now I'm just starting to tweak just a tiny bit how it's being rendered and configuring the rendering, lighting, and playing with the light direction. And I'm understanding the difference in focal length. So when it's from that angle, it should be around 50 mils. Oh yeah, at this point I noticed that there is missing kind of some features, details on that invisible face. So I added this kind of radiator feature. I came back, I moved them a little bit, I made them all kind of inset. So so the radiator is a bit inside, and and I'm adding a traditional fillet, so they all rounded. And now it's a little bit more interesting on that side, so it's not that boring. I'm playing around with more tweaking of the color of the main body, made it a little bit more pale, and now just looking for different angles. At some point I will start, at some point I noticed this button is just sticking out too much, even though it was matching the design, but I feel like I'm just not, it's not right. And then I'm also noticing just in a second that it's a bit too far to the right, so it should be more to the left. Here I'm just comparing with the reference material, so I selected all the faces and moved them slightly to the left. All these faces. And that's pretty much it. So I just made a bunch of renders. Here I'm just showing how it looks on the concept art. It looks similar to concept art, in my opinion. So what's left now is just unwrap it in some other software like Blender, and then make a proper map and use Substance Painter to make proper textures, and it will look like a real thing. Thank you very much.